What's happening, people? I hope you're all well. So, do all men exaggerate their height? I would say a large percentage, maybe 85 to 90% of men add at least an inch onto their height. And when I was younger, I was probably guilty of it as well. And I wouldn't even say it was anything malicious, anything like out there to try and harm people, or out there to try and, out there to try and do anything with any mean intent. It was just like, I don't know, maybe I was like, when I was a teenager, I might have been about 5'6", and I'd be like, yeah, I'm 5'8" or something like that. It was just something I did. And then, when I became more height aware, and I wouldn't say that I'm not obsessed with height or anything, but you get the measuring tape out, you measure yourself, and you see how tall you are. Then I stopped doing that. So, I think 85 to 90%, probably more like 90% of men add at least an inch onto their height. The question is why? Well, it's that subconscious inference that bigger is better, isn't it? The subconscious inference that bigger is better. I would say a huge reason why men, maybe even without realizing it or half realizing it, add an inch or two onto their height is because of the opposite sex. You often hear women say things, particularly online, such as a man must be at least 5'11" or 6 foot. And you really have to take that with a pinch of salt, because if a billionaire who's 5'9" comes along, what do you think she's going to do? But back to the main thing. A lot of women say you got to be 5'11" or 6 foot. Well, if that's the case, then a lot of men aren't going to be getting dates, because 5'11" I think is taller than 75% of men, and 6 foot even higher than that. So, I think men do put an inch or two onto their height to impress the opposite sex. And then I think men add an inch or two onto their height just to make themselves look better. Some men will add an inch or two onto their height because they generally don't know their height. They just go off what other people say. So say there's a group of guys and one guy's like, they're 5'9", and then the other guy's roughly the same height, and he's going to say, well, I'm 5'8.5" or I'm 5'9". That can happen. Some men literally have not got the measuring tape out, and they're just going off what other people say. One guy might say, you're 5, you look around 5'11", and he says, cool, I must be 5'11" then. So some guys will add an inch or two onto their height just because they're not actually going off, like taking their shoes off and having the measuring tape out. They're just going off, oh, their friend told them that they must be 5'11" because they're 5'11" and they're the same height. Some guys will take the shoe measurements. I've heard that in the doctors, in fact, I know, sometimes like doctors or hospitals, they will measure you in your shoes. And I actually remember one time, it's actually quite funny, I got a 5'9" measurement in the hospital, even though I'm 5'10", and I had shoes on because they told me to stand. It wasn't like a measuring tape. They told me to stand under this, whatever it was. So I stood there, and I only realized they were taking my height, I think, maybe at some point during the process, and it was very quick. I wasn't standing straight, and I think your standing height is about 2 inches shorter than your standing erect height. So if I'm 5'11" in shoes, then, because I'm 5'10" with my socks, if I'm 5'11" in shoes roughly, and I'm standing like in a sort of in a relaxed position, I'm going to be standing at around 5'9". So I was just standing in a relaxed position, and then she put this thing down, and then she said 5'9". So yeah, I wasn't ready for the, I didn't actually know what she was doing until maybe halfway through what she was doing it. But the point is, she didn't ask me to take my shoes off. So maybe when someone knows and they're ready and they stand as tall as they can in their shoes, and they get a shoe measurement, and maybe it's in the morning, they can get a false perception of how tall they are. Because imagine in the morning when you're, 3/4 of an inch, anywhere from half an inch to a full inch. If you're like 6'7", 6'8", you might lose an inch of height throughout the day. So in the morning, let's say you are a 5'11" man, you're gonna get out of bed around 6 feet. Realistically, you're gonna get out of bed around 6 foot. You're gonna be 6 foot roughly when you get out of bed. So you go to the doctors in the morning, you have your shoes on, they measure you, they say 6'1", and you're in the morning, so you're around 6 foot. You have your shoes on, maybe you got some Air Maxes on, you get measured at 6'1", and then you walk around and you're above average height anyway, so you're tallish, and you tell people you're 6'1". That can happen. Whereas actually, if you waited until the afternoon and you took your shoes off, you would be 5'11.5". So that can happen as well. I've taken a measurement of myself years ago, I think, in my shoes, and I was like actually 6'1". But that's because I had shoes with quite a thick sole in them. So these things can happen. These false perceptions can happen. But overall, I think guys, they just add an inch or two onto their height to just make themselves appear better. A lot of it is to appeal to the opposite sex, and that sometimes it might be ignorance, and that's pretty much it. But I would definitely say that most men exaggerate their height. Actually, ironically, I think that women who generally don't tend to be as logical as men, women actually are more accurate when it comes to reporting their height. I think women give a more honest review of their height. If you ask a woman how tall she is, she's less likely to exaggerate. And actually, it's the taller women who may even go down an inch. So if she's 5'10", she might say she's 5'9", or she's 5'11", she may say she's 5'10", because actually a lot of men don't want tall women. So it's interesting how the sexes will change and adapt what they say based on attraction. They want to appear more attractive to the opposite sex. So a lot of what people say, they moderate what they say to become more attractive to the opposite sex. But anyway, that's not what this video is about. So yeah, most men, they do lie about their height. I would say it's definitely over 50% of men who lie about their height. I choose to be honest about my height because you're gonna find out anyway. You're gonna find out anyway at some point. So especially if you're with someone for a long time, they're gonna find out your height. There's no point in me saying I'm 6 foot when I'm 5'10", because they're gonna find out. So anyway, those are my thoughts. What are your thoughts on what I said? Have you ever been that guy who exaggerated their height? I know I used to be that guy. Most people, there's no shame in it. And what do you think? How much do most people exaggerate their height by? Is it an inch? Is it 2 inches? Is it even 3 inches? Generally speaking, if a guy is a legit 5'10", I would say that a lot of them would say they're 6 foot. I've had a guy say 6 foot and he was maybe a little bit taller than me. A lot of 5'9" guys claiming 5'11", 5'7" guys claiming 5'9". But anyway, what do you think about what I said? Like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, hit the notification bell so you get a notification when I'm making a new video, and I'll see you on the next video.